Hey guys, Miata Man here again. Today we're looking at a second generation 1999 Mazda Miata. That's the NB series. That's 99 all the way up to 05. And I'm going to show you the battery location, how to remove the battery, and we're also investigating a rattle on this car as well. We've put a bit of foam in because it was rattling a bunch, and we've realized why it's actually moving around now. So let's begin. We're going to use a 12 millimeter socket, a 10 millimeter socket, and a 10 millimeter wrench. So first thing we do is peel the carpet back. That will expose this plate here. And we can just take that out and remove it. Now, the next thing we want to do is take our 12 millimeter ratchet and undo this bolt here. That's the bolt that holds the battery bracket to the body of the car. That's what it looks like. Next, we can remove the battery bracket, which is this part here. It has a hook on the end that hooks into a rail here just behind the battery, and that's what holds it down. This is a little bit of foam we added in just to stop vibration between the battery and the bracket, just to reduce any noise. But what we found is this battery is sliding back and forth. And the reason that is happening is because at some point, the battery tray, which has two little indents on the bottom that actually sit into the body that stops it from moving around, has been broken or mislaid at some point in this car's life. So we found a really nice used one here, and I'm sure you can still buy these new, but that's what it's supposed to look like. And once we put that in, then we'll have solved our problem of the battery sliding around and things rattling. So between that and the foam, we'll have this problem solved. No problem at all. So if you've got a strange rattle in your trunk, there's a really good chance it's coming from the battery bracket or the battery itself if the bracket or that cup are missing. So this one's very tight. Somebody's gone crazy on tightening this thing here. Let's try it over the other way. Yeah, somebody went bonkers on this one. Way too tight. Now, the reason I've got a 10 millimeter ratchet and a 10 millimeter wrench is because there's a post on the top of the battery that makes it very hard to get the ratchet in there. So you can use a shorter socket or you can use that wrench there. So we've got that off now. Before you go and remove the battery, take both these off and undo, if you've got the vents on yours still, like this one does, you want to undo those first, and then you should be able to just grab the thing and pull it right out. So that's the short battery. That's the one that the NB takes. It's not as tall as a 51 series battery. So that's what that looks like. That's the bracket across the top that the battery hold down bracket's supposed to go through. And yeah, and just as we suspected, this guy is missing. Now this goes in, it has an orientation to it. If you can see, there's a plus there and a minus there. And that means that this goes in this way because that's the positive side of the battery right there. So make note of that if you're redoing this. Okay, minus, positive, that means it goes in this way. And it actually fits right into, in the bottom of the trunk of the battery well, there's a couple of little areas that are scooped out that correspond with that battery tray, and that stops it from moving. So now we put the battery back in. That's the positive side there. And of course, guys, amount of play in the battery now, but it's about 1 inch from side to side. But that will help us to get things going in the right direction here. So we'll be able to tie this down a lot better now that that's in. And if you leave these guys a little bit off to the side, you can easily get your ratchet in there with the longer socket, and this won't get in your way. So you see, rather than have these exactly straight, I just make it so it's off to the side a little bit. That helps me to get in and tighten it. There we go. Make sure you do tighten the negative quite well, because you'll have all sorts of battery drain problems if you don't. And for the positive, now a lot of guys will tell you always connect the positive first because of sparks and this and that. Well, you know, unless you've got the key on or, you know, a lot of power running through it, you're not going to get sparks. And in all honesty, if you've got a bunch of stuff on when you're disconnecting the battery, you shouldn't have, and it's going to spark no matter what anyway. So tighten that up. There we go. Always put this guy back on. That way you're not going to drop any tools on it. Now, it's also very important to have that cover back on when you're reinserting the hold down bracket, because if you happen to ground that out, you're going to have a lot of sparks, a lot of fireworks in your trunk. So you want to find the right hole, which on this one appears to be the middle hole, unless you want to push the battery back. Now that we've got the bracket or that battery tray in there, we were in the bottom hole, I think, before, but now we're in the middle hole, which is the right one. So we want to get this foam in there. That'll just help to stop any rattling. And once we've got that in, kind of hold this guy in place and reinsert the 12mm bolt. You don't have to go crazy tight on this, okay? It just needs to be snug. And that is snug. There's no movement there at all, okay? So there you go, guys. That's going to solve any rattling problems you've got from your battery. Now, this has got kind of a funny setup for the vent tubes. One's really long and one's not long enough. So we'll address that later, but just make sure if you do have a vented battery that you hook these guys up. And what I'll do later is I'll grab a longer piece of tube to hook onto that last vent here. So there you go. That's how you solve the problem of a rattling battery. Make sure you've got the battery tray in place, and if you need to, just double check all this and make sure it's in the correct position, and add a little bit of foam or something underneath to snug it up. Once we've done that, we can just quickly insert that guy and lay the carpet back down, and we're all done. So I hope that helps you out. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll make some more videos real soon. Thanks.